you guys have turned a lot of actors into big stars. You don't, by and large, you don't hire lots of $20 and $30 million faces. I assume that's because rather the money went to technology and story and so on. Do you think, talk about that a little, and do you think stardom means less, or superstardom at least means less than it used to, or no?
It's very simple. By the time that we get the effects budgeted, there's no money left for expensive actors.
But and they won't take less, right?
Generally not.
So, I mean, with the projects that I've been involved in, I've always liked the idea of having actors, bring the characters to life and not bring a lot of baggage along based on, superstardom or who they are. And I mean, that's not a criticism in any way, but it's just based on the Lord of the Rings, Kong. I mean, the particular projects that I worked on, I wanted with Lord of the Rings, I wanted people to see Tolkien's characters come to life and have the actors be able to own those characters and close that gap between the audience and the character and not have a lot of baggage in between to get in the way. So.
One more thing I wanted to ask about the future. International box office is already such a much bigger part of the pie than domestic box office is. There's a great line, a very quick line at the beginning of District 9 that I noticed where an investigative journalist says something like, people are surprised that the alien ship decided to hover over Johannesburg and not New York. And it's a funny line, but it also points up how self-centered a lot of Hollywood storytelling is. And do you guys think that, I mean, I assume international box office affects casting. I'm sure studios are focused on it. But is there an opportunity to tell all kinds of stories about different cultures and different histories? And is that something we're going to see more of in the future?
I think that depends on the individual filmmakers. It's certainly not going to be driven by the studios, I wouldn't think.
Because?
Well, I mean, they're just kind of very U.S.-centric in their thinking. They all live here, and they expect everybody else to come here like a kind of mecca. But, look what Peter's done. He's managed to attract a film industry to his country, which I can't think of another filmmaker that's done that. And I'm just going to blow your horn here for a second. The big, you've got the cottage industry or the local films in France, in Germany, in England, and all the countries around the world. And then when many of those filmmakers, when they reach a certain level of recognition on the world stage, then they come to Hollywood and get more money.
Right.
Get more money for their films and get more money personally. And so they get co-opted by that system. I'm Canadian. I actually moved here before I got co-opted, so I kind of have a little bit of an excuse. But I probably would have done it if I'd had the chance. He did it the other way around. He said, no, I'm going to do it in my hometown, and I'm going to attract literally billions of dollars of production dollars, or billion, to Wellington and make it the industry here. I don't think anybody else has ever done that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still a cottage industry though, and I mean, we had been making low-budget films in New Zealand and doing exactly the cottage industry style, and it hasn't really altered. I mean, when we were doing Lord of the Rings, all the actors were joking that it was the biggest low-budget film that they'd ever been involved in, because it was still very low-budget. Nobody had big trailers, and there wasn't any of the usual trappings. It was a low-budget movie that happened to be very expensive, but that's because the money was going on screen. So, I mean, we're still a cottage industry. We certainly haven't, we're just lucky that we get a lot of money for some of these projects that we can funnel onto the film.
But the point is, you didn't come here to do it.
No.
You brought it back there.
What's it like?
I think that's pretty admirable.
What's it like to have James Cameron as a guest in your hometown? I mean, he came and he spent a lot of time, and
Sorry, I missed that.
I'm asking Peter what it's like to have you as a house guest. You, Peter. Yes, Peter Jackson.
Question, sorry.
The one with the beard. Yes, please. Do you like having James Cameron around your town?
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, I was a little bit frustrated because I was really looking forward to being able to watch Jim shoot Avatar, and because he was using our studios in New Zealand, and then it worked out that almost literally the day that Jim came down to New Zealand to set up Avatar and start shooting it, I left to go to Pennsylvania to shoot Lovely Bones, and we were literally on the other side. It was so frustrating. But I managed to get back in just before Christmas. We'd wrapped the Lovely Bones, and Jim still had a week or so to go on his Avatar shoot, so I was able to go visit and check in.
He was saying before we came out here that District 9 had to be done by another effects company because he got turned down because Avatar was so dominating Weta.
I couldn't believe it. I mean,
he couldn't get the capacity at his own facility.
I assumed that Weta would be doing District 9 and they turned me down. I thought, oh God. Thank you very much. But no, I mean, actually Embassy and Image Engine in Vancouver, both Vancouver companies, did a brilliant job on the District 9 effects. So I got to, yeah.
Before we take questions from the floor, talk a little bit about what you're doing at the Universal theme park, because I know folks don't know about it. Universal lost King Kong in a fire, no?
Yeah, the rubber King Kong that we all love so much got consumed by flames, obviously a year ago in that big fire, and they really, you know, they wanted to have a Kong attraction still. So one of the things that I've been working on quietly with Universal, and we're just about to to start production on it, is something that, I mean, it ties in directly with the conversations we've just been having. Is we're going to be doing a very technologically complicated replacement for King Kong, which involves the Universal tram driving into a darkened soundstage, and it ends up on a motion simulator base where the whole tram gets moved around, and we're having it's like Super Cinerama, where they used to have 3 cameras that shot 3 different films that joined together, you know, with 3 projectors, except this is going to be 8 cameras, 8 images that project 4 images on either side of the tram. So every person sitting in this tourist tram gets this wraparound view of Skull Island. Each image is going to be 4K, it's going to be in 3D, everyone gets to put glasses on, it's going to be at 60 frames a second, and it's going to be tied in with a simulator base, and it's Kong fighting Tyrannosaurus Rexes, yes, with you being in your Universal tram right in the middle of this fight, and you're getting buffeted around and you're sliding down towards a chasm, and Kong's thumping the hell out of the Tyrannosauruses, which are trying to grab tourists out of the trams, and so this is going to be an incredible amount of fun and a chance to really push the technology. And they're going to be blowing hot air and stinky breath of dinosaurs on people and splatter. And when Kong gives a dinosaur a right hook, there'll be goo that'll be flying out of his mouth. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and something I'm looking forward to.
Yes, that is awesome.
So it actually covers all those bases that we talked about with smell-o-vision and thing and all that, except it's based on a theme park, which is where that stuff, you know, really belongs. And so it'll be fun. I think it's due to open next summer, so we're really looking forward to doing that, which will be.
All right, should we hear from the floor?